Promotional consideration paid for by the following. The Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Center, Scott M. Gray, D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. For further information, dial 740-386-6580. Also located on the net at goodbackbadback.com. Dreiss Roofing and Contracting, LLC, located at 370 East Church Street, right here in Marion. For more information, call 740-751-9516. Specializing in roofing, siding, decks, garages, windows, pole buildings, and complete homes. For more information, again, call Dan Rice, 740-751-9516.
Scott Spears along with you on the Monday edition of The Exchange, and boy, if you only knew what went on while the theme song was playing. We can't say it on the air, we don't want to get thrown off, but George Casotis is here already letting them rip in the studio. Joined today, we have got a great group here today. You want to talk about Marion luminaries? We've got them this week. Sitting next to me, we've got a great politician from the Marion area, former politician, Norma Jacob. Sitting next to her, my pal, Exchange cohort, legendary broadcaster, Charlie Evers. Next to Charlie, we've got the wonderful Marianne Michaels, TV legend in the Columbus area, restaurateur. There's never been one like George Casotis, looking good today in his tuxedo. And next to George, we've got the queen herself, the queen of dance, 2011 Popcorn Festival Grand Marshal, Martha Douse Manesi. This is a group, and we are going to have fun today. And we're going to kick it off with my pal, Charlie Evers, with fascinating facts. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, one of the facts is that you can see us on exchangemarion.com on the internet, if all of you have the internet. I keep running into people, I wouldn't have that if you threw it at me. But they said the same thing about microwave ovens years ago. Well, I wouldn't have one of those in my house. And now everyone has a microwave.
And televisions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, tell you. You would want TV, wouldn't you? Oh, yes, the times that have passed. But I wanted to mention, I was in Pennsylvania last week, and I saw the remnants of Hurricane Irene, both in watered-down cornfields, down trees, and I was in a caravan of 50 utility trucks leaving the area and heading back to Minnesota, Indiana, and Illinois, of all places. At least 50 trucks, and there may have been more. But it's amazing what can be organized and sent out to take care of these emergencies like Hurricane Irene. And so I wanted to mention one other thing. I keep seeing a commercial. It's about the Senate Bill 5, and it has some firemen on it. And one of the firemen comes down holding the brass pole. Now, I was a fireman years ago. We never touched that brass pole with our hands. You wrapped your arm around it and your legs, and down you went. So I have a feeling the man who was sliding down the pole this way was not a fireman.
Ah, an actor.
That's my story for today.
An actor.
Yes.
Well, as we do after we go to Charlie, we head on over to another pal of mine, Marianne Michaels. Words of wisdom. Marianne looking beautiful today.
Scott, before I do my words of wisdom, I have to say I like the new arrangement of your set.
Good.
I think it looks very nice. My words of wisdom this week are all going to have to do with imagination. And the Australian writer David Maloff says this: All the things we achieve are things we have first of all imagined.
I like that.
I do too.
I think that's probably right. I think we've all thought about things and then they come true. Now, joined this all week by George Casotis and Norma Jacobs. So I thought, of course, the people here on this panel are very acquainted with George and Norma. But if the audience isn't, let's give a little background here, and we'll start with Norma. Norma, you were kind of a pioneer for women in your day. Ran for public office. What year was that?
1956, I believe it was.
1956. Now, in 1956, why did you decide to run for public office?
Well, there was just a lot of bickering going on in city council. They couldn't arrive at anything. It was worse than what's going on in Washington today. But, and I said that I was sick and tired of all the bickering, and I felt that I could probably keep everybody under control if a woman were on there. And somebody had asked me to run, and so I did, and the rest is history. I think I was the second woman that was ever on city council. There was a Barbara Norris that was on the city council. She ran a filling station up in the North End, and she was the very first one in the 30s. And then I was the second, and I was on for 6 years until I moved out of town when I had my baby, Dean Jacob, and my baby was more important than politics.
Norma, when you ran for office, was it hard, being the second woman, was it harder for a woman, do you think?
Well, I don't think so. I think the novelty was probably one of the things that helped to get me elected. I did go door to door, and I hit every house, every apartment in the 5th Ward.
We talked about just a second ago the novelty of it might have helped you win, but do you remember who you ran against?
Yes, I ran against Mr. Goodwin up on Edgefield Drive. He'd been on for several years. And since I was new and relatively new in Marion, I came here in 1947, and I ran in 56, and I said, now, when you go to the polls, don't remember Mr. Goodwin. They say you shouldn't mention your opponent. And I said, well, I've got to let you know who I'm running against. I'm running against a Mr. Goodwin. Now, you don't remember Mr. Goodwin, you remember Norma Jacobs. I'll be the only woman to be on there. And I said, remember my name. And the response was just so good. I predicted that I would win that because so many people said, I will vote for you. I will vote for you.
You know, Norma, it's kind of interesting. Back when that all happened in the 1950s, did this Mr. Goodwin, was he nice about campaigning against a woman?
I never heard anything about it. No, I didn't hear it. No, I didn't hear anything at all.
I only ask that. I interviewed Mary Ellen Withrow once, and she said there were a couple of elections when people were running against her where because she was a woman, she took quite a bit of flack in those days. You didn't have that back in the 50s.
No.
I'm glad to hear that. Also worked very hard on Governor Gilligan's campaign.
Gilligan, and then I was on Metzenbaum's campaign. Frank Bennett ran for Congress, and because I had never lost an election, he wanted me to be have my name on his program that I was working for him. But I couldn't pull it through for Frank.
Did you ever want to go back after you left City Council? When your son was born, once he was grown, did you ever want to go back?
Well, I did all of my campaigning for Gilligan, Metzenbaum, and all the others after Dean was born. I would take Dean. Dean was 9 years old, and I was taking him to 9 and 10. I was taking him to the Democratic meetings because I was president of the Democratic Women's Club, and then later was president of the Democratic County Club. And I did all of that long after Dean was. I took him campaigning with me.
George, you wanted to jump in there.
Weren't you on Michael DeSalle's campaign?
Yeah, oh, yes.
You
yes,
you
yes.
were on his campaign. You were the
I knew
county
it was somebody else.
administrator for the Mike DeSalle campaign. Yes, and don't forget, Mary Ellen Withrow ran in a primary against 7 men.
Yeah, yeah.
I was the one that went to Mary Ellen and asked her to run for clerk of courts.
Oh, really?
I have a nice letter from Mary Ellen Withrow. I was later appointed to the Ohio Parks and Recreation Advisory Council by Governor Gilligan. And somebody at Cedar Point, I'd been on for several years, and somebody wanted me to, they wanted my position, and I ran to Cedar Point. And Mary Ellen happened to know that my appointment was up again, so she writes a letter to Governor Celeste and says that if it hadn't been for Norma Jacob, I wouldn't be where I am today.
How nice. And also, Norma, you're still very active in the Democratic Party here as far as volunteering at the polls and so forth.
Yeah, I work at the polls. I'm so old when everybody comes in to vote, they say that there's four precincts that vote where I vote, and they come in and they just say, well, now where do I go? Oh, I go there. They know the precinct. So if I die, they won't know where to go. So I'm trying to hang on.
Hang on for us, Norma. Hang on.
I remember mostly about Norma. She has a political voice. She always did. She was so affirmative sounding on city council. I remember those days quite well. There was another man on council who always stood up for one particular thing. He was against zoning for trailers in town. You remember that? What was his name? A kind of a small man of stature. Oh, he served with you. But he always...
Was it Lincoln Spencer?
No, but he was always against allowing a house trailer in the city limits. And he was very vocal about that. You'll think about it. I probably will too.
Norma, at this age, would you ever run again? You're blessed with good health. Would you ever run again?
Oh, I don't think so.
That wasn't affirmative, Norma. Maybe you'll toss your hat in.
Everybody say, what is that old woman thinking?
No.
She's having dementia.
No. You could do it, Norma. Do you remember, Norma did, and this, it's kind of interesting because we just recently learned that Charlie and Mary Ann will be doing Capture the Moment this year, which is a big dinner that's been going on. George has done it. Norma has done it. Norma, you did, you were wonderful. It was one of the all-time great speeches. And you told a story that night, and I just remember the key word. I don't remember the particulars, but the key word, you said something about chump change. Do you remember that? I know I'm putting you on the spot now. The key word, you said that's chump change. You were talking to somebody big in town.
Now, are you sure that wasn't recently? I went down and spoke for complimented the county commissioners on wanting to raise the sales tax 0.5%.
And what did you say?
I said, that's just chump change. I used as an example that I had a garage door opener put in, and I said it was $400 and some odd. And I said, I figured it out, and it was only going to cost $1.86 or something like that additional. And I said, if I couldn't afford to pay that additional sales tax, I couldn't afford a garage door opener. So I said, it was chump change.
Well, Norma, I tend to agree with you on this, and I know this will take a beating, but the truth is that every county surrounding Marion has a higher sales tax than us. Every county that touches us is above 6.5. So those are the facts. If you still want to campaign against it, fine. You have a right to do that. But just remember, we have the lowest in all the counties that touch us. So do what you can do. George, I wanted to get to you. How about this? Here's a tie-in I didn't even think about. Your wife is a politician.
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. And she's ran for mayor. She's auditor.
She was city treasurer for 10 years.
City treasurer. What's it like to be the spouse of a candidate?
It's great. I love campaigning. I just get out and campaign like nobody's business. Wow.
What's your method to campaigning? What do you do?
What do I do?
What do you do?
Everything. Signs, door to door, talk to people. I go to different places and talk to groups when that time's available.
He does her parties, and he puts on a party like nobody's business.
That's true. That's true.
One good thing that Martha did one time, she came in my restaurant and ordered a Greek salad. And she says, George, I'm going next door to the Republican headquarters. They're having a meeting there. And would you open the door for me? So I fixed her a Greek salad, and I put it in Martha's hands, and I opened the door to the Republican headquarters, and she walks in and she says, I've got a Greek salad made by a Democrat, and I'm going to eat it in the Republican headquarters. And everybody went, boo! That was the funniest thing. That's the funniest thing we ever did, darling. I love it.
That's a good story. Now, look at these two over here, Martha and George. Can you picture this? Go back about 70 years, maybe even a little longer.
Oh, a little longer.
Little longer.
Like 3 and 4, 5 years old.
3
We
and 4.
used to play at the Dow's trailer. You rent our trailer place on South Prospect.
Well, we had one Miss America from Marion, Ohio, Marilyn Meskey. These two, over 70 years ago, were peeking in her windows.
No, her doorway.
Her doorway.
Watching
Oh,
her
excuse
dance.
me, I about made it sound a little different. I will watch out.
We're in the front porch looking in and watching her dance, teach dancing.
How'd you and Martha meet? I've never heard the story.
Well, I lived on Pearl Street. She lived on Prospect. We're like back to back on Pearl Street and Prospect Street. Our houses were back to back at each other. And there was a big parking lot out in back next to the Emmanuel Lutheran Church.
Yes.
And we played in the parking lot out there. And then we used to play on the You Rent Our Trailer. Those trailers were back there, and we used to play. We used to get in the trailers. And
We used to go hay rides.
And-
My dad took us on hay rides.
Wow.
And but we did go. Marilyn Meskey lived right across the street from Martha. Her house it's still there. It's a beautiful home. It's got that rounded porch like President Harding's porch. And she taught dancing in there. And we heard the music, so we went over. We were kids, but we went over and listened to the music. And she came out to the door and said, "You two back up." And she did the old soft shoe dance, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe.
And George still knows that he danced at my dance recital last June, and you were there, Scott. You were the MC.
I was there, and George, you sang a song to Martha that day.
I did.
It was, There's No Business Like Show Business.
That's it.
It was a great song.
It was
Give
fun.
us a line. You were singing before we went on. Give us
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. I know Martha and I used to dance together with all of the world and show business like no business. Oh, no, it's fun.
Well, now, we've got so many tie-ins here. We're going to try to tie them together. Now, one of them is Norma Jacob lived across the way from Marianne Michaels when she came to town. Right, Norma?
Right?
Oh, they lived in the same apartment building.
The same apartment building, and we had such good times, didn't we, Norma?
Yes, we did.
You know what? I used to bring, well, I was in the restaurant. I used to bring little trays of food over to that apartment.
Yeah,
Oh,
the Frontenac.
the Frontenac.
Actually, it was the classiest apartment in Marion.
It was.
In fact, I think it was the only apartment house, wasn't it? I don't know. It's
Easy to be the classiest when you're the only.
That's right.
And I was the first one to raise a baby in that.
Is-
Well, I had the baby when we were.
Well, and Lynn Van Riper and Bill Van Riper had their daughter.
But
The same time they lived there.
They got
Out of it, yeah, yeah.
We lived there for about 16 or 18 months. And as a matter of fact, Ted came to the hospital with Jake when I had Dane. And to come home, I had a suction, and I was in the hospital for several days. And so Ted went down with Jake to bring Dean home. Ted says, the first thing we have to do, he says, we got a diaper in this baby. We've got to take him home dry, we had prepared a diaper bag, so forth, and I wasn't able to do anything by that time. And anyhow, then Ted whips out that diaper and pins it on Dean, and helped us come home, and when we came home, Mary Ann had a coming home party for us.
Oh, those were great days when we were young.
Norma, what did you make knowing this girl then when she came to town, ending up on Channel 4 in Columbus and all these wonderful things?
I just kept, I said, I knew her when. I was just, well, Mary Ann was always real sharp and
Still is.
yeah,
Still
sure,
is.
sure.
Still is.
She was in the Follies all the time and sang and danced, and I was real proud to say that I knew her when first came to town. And let me tell you, when I first knew Martha, we came to town, we were in the hearing aid business on South Prospect Street, 207 South Prospect. The Hudson Agency was next door, and next door to that was Martha Dowse's home. And I can remember that Joe would come in his convertible. Now, they were young. Well, I was young, too. I was 24 when we came to town. But I can remember Joe would pull up in front of the house, and he would go in and get Martha. I could sit there and watch the whole thing. And he would open the door for Martha, and Martha would get in, and he would run around the back of the car, and he would jump into the convertible. He never opened the door. He always jumped into it.
Is that right?
Jumped in.
And then off they would go. And they were just kids. They were just kids.
Joe's father bought him that car when he graduated in 48.
Okay.
It's a 48 Chevrolet convertible. He
Joe-
gave that to Joe, and you know what else my father-in-law did for me?
Boy.
Bought us our house on St. James for $10,000 for our wedding present.
Oh, how nice.
It's a lot of...
Norma Jacobs, I was a Republican and a Catholic, and I voted Democrat for you for every one of your elections,
Well,
my lady.
Support.
Thank you.
Support.
Well,
I loved you.
you voted for the person rather than the party, which is what everybody should do.
That's right, Mary Ann, I did.
Joe's father was Natale, and in Italian, which means Christmas, so we always called him Chris Manesi.
Chris Monet.
Born on
Well, from
Christmas Day.
born on Christmas Day. So his name in Italian, Natale, means Christmas.
That's it.
Ah. Well, we're running out of time on Monday, but the whole group's staying for the rest of the week. We're going to get into, Charlie still does a radio show once a month with George in this area. There's a connection there. We're going to talk about that coming up, but we got to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get out of here on this Monday. We're going to do our quizzer question, and if you get the quizzer question right, here's how you do it. I'll refresh your memory. You just go to Facebook, The Exchange Marion, and if you're the first person to have the right answer to our quiz question that we're just about to give on the air here, you'll receive a free fish dinner from O'Michael's Fish and Chips, located on Mount Vernon Avenue here in Marion, and a half dozen donuts from Andrew's Pastries, located at 1282 Delaware Avenue, here in Marion also, 387-3830. For more info, contact them on the net, andrewspastries.com, and O'Michael's Fish and Chips, 725-3474 is the number, so don't forget that. Today's quizzer question is, okay, what U.S. agency's food pyramid did the book Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy criticize for ignoring science and promoting obesity? What U.S. agency's food pyramid did the book Eat, Drink, and Be Healthy criticize for ignoring science and promoting obesity? Norma, you got a guess for that one?
Oh, heavens. No.
Tough one. Charlie?
USDA?
Could be a good guess. Mary Ann?
Well, yeah, but you said it's a pyramid of the,
They
government.
criticize this group's food pyramid. It's
yeah.
a group.
Okay.
No guess?
FDA?
Good guess. George?
I have no idea.
Martha?
I agree with George.
Yeah, no idea. There we go. But you'll get the answer at the top of the program tomorrow, and if you know the answer, just go to The Exchange Marion on Facebook. We started a new thing last week, which I enjoyed, and I think the audience enjoyed, which is The Answer Man. It's an old Steve Allen bit. Johnny Carson did it as Karnak for a long time. And for our new panelists this week, what we do is each day I'll give you the answer. You come up with a question, and then I'll tell you what the question was. Today's answer is hayseed. Hayseed. Norma, What's a question if the answer is hayseed?
Who's that ignorant person?
That's a good one, Norma. I don't mind that. Charlie, what do you think? Hayseed.
The same person that a redneck is today.
Okay, that's good. Marianne?
Oh. What did you find in that barn?
That's a good one. George?
There was a TV show called Hee Haw.
Hee-haw. That could fit in. Martha, you got any guesses on this one?
If you go on a hayride, you ought to take a hayseed.
There you go. Just put it in the question. Let me give you the correct answer as we have it from the Locked in the Vaults here at the show. The answer is hayseed. The question, what was Jimmy Carter's nickname in high school?
Wow.
Oh, did you know that? That's just amazing. We've got so much going on here. We're going to be back tomorrow. More Answer Man, more with this group, more quiz questions. It's going to be fun. See you tomorrow.